The Tempest, Act 3, Scene 1. This section is about Miranda and Ferdinand and their romantic conversation. Let us listen to the text.
Act 3, Scene 1. Before Prospero's cell. Enter Ferdinand, bearing a log.
There be some sports are painful, and their labour delight in them sets off. Some kinds of baseness are nobly undergone, and most poor matters point to rich ends. This my mean task would be as heavy to me as odious, but the mistress which I serve quickens what's dead, and makes my labours pleasures. Oh, she is 10 times more gentle than her father's crabbed, and he's composed of harshness. I must remove some thousands of these logs and pile them up upon a sore injunction. My sweet mistress weeps when she sees me work, and says, such baseness had never like executor. I forget. But these sweet thoughts do refresh my labours, most busy, least when I do it.
Enter Miranda, and Prospero at a distance, unseen.
Alas, now, pray you, work not so hard. I would the lightning had burnt up those logs that you are enjoined to pile. Pray set it down, and rest you. When this burns, 'twill weep for having wearied you. My father is hard at study. Pray now rest yourself. He's safe for these 3 hours.
O most dear mistress, the sun will set before I shall discharge what I must strive to do.
If you'll sit down, I'll bear your logs the while. Pray give me that, I'll carry it to the pile.
No, precious creature, I had rather crack my sinews, break my back, than you should such dishonour undergo, while I sit lazy by.
It would become me as well as it does you, and I should do it with much more ease, for my good will is to it, and yours it is against.
Poor worm, thou art infected. This visitation shows it.
You look wearily.
No, noble mistress, 'tis fresh morning with me when you are by at night. I do beseech you, chiefly that I might set it in my prayers. What is your name?
Miranda. Oh, my father, I have broke your hest to say so.
Admired Miranda, indeed the top of admiration, worth what's dearest to the world. Full many a lady I have eyed with best regard, and many a time the harmony of their tongues hath into bondage brought my too diligent ear. For several virtues have I liked several women. Never any with so full soul, but some defect in her did quarrel with the noblest grace she owed, and put it to the foil. But you, oh you, so perfect and so peerless, are created of every creature's best.
Let us now look at the text in detail. At the end of Act 1, we notice that Miranda was asked to shut up because she was supporting Ferdinand. And Ferdinand was asked or ordered by Prospero to fetch wood, just like Caliban did. So now we continue here. In Act 3, Scene 1, we have again Ferdinand and Miranda. They have fallen for each other. They are deeply in love. And the entire Act 1, Scene 1 is about their conversation. It is a romantic scene. So before Prospero's cell, enter Ferdinand bearing a log. And he is talking to himself. There be some sports are painful, and their labour delight in them sets off. Some kinds of baseness are nobly undergone, and most poor matters point to rich ends. This my mean task would be as heavy to me as odious, but the mistress which I serve quickens what's dead, and makes my labours pleasure. He says, some games are painful, he says, but their discomfort makes them more fun. Some kind of lowly activities are done for noble reasons. So he says baseness is wicked. Some kind of wicked activities are done for noble reasons, and the end is good. rich end. This my mean task would be as heavy to me as odious. He says, this task would be as heavy as it is repulsive. I do not want to do it. But the mistress which I serve quickens what's dead. But the mistress I serve, Miranda, makes it all easy and brings to life what is dead in me and makes my labors pleasures. So he says, my labor becomes full of pleasure because I'm working for my mistress, that is Miranda. Oh, she is 10 times more gentle than her father's scrap. He says, she is so gentle, so unlike her father. He is so mean, and he is composed of harshness. He is full of harshness. I must remove some thousands of these logs and pile them up. He says, now I have to take these logs, thousands of logs, and pile them up in a place, as I have been ordered to do. Upon a sore injunction, I have been ordered strictly to pile these logs up, and there are thousands of them. My sweet mistress weeps when she sees me work and says, such baseness had never like executor. He says, my sweet darling cries when she sees me work and tells me that such a wonderful man never performed such lowly tasks before. Executor is the person who's performing tasks, executes tasks. And the task that is being executed is carrying of the logs. I forget, but these sweet thoughts do even refresh my labors, most busy lest when I do it. He says, these sweet thoughts of Miranda, because she feels for me, relieve me and refresh me, especially when I am slaving away busily. Enter Miranda now from the back. He has not seen her yet. From the back, she enters the scene, and also Prospero behind a tree, as you saw in the picture. He enters the scene, and he is not seen by either of the two, but he is listening to them. He is looking at what is happening between them. As soon as Miranda comes to the scene, she sees Ferdinand working away hard, and she says, alas, now pray you, work not so hard. I would the lightning had burnt up these logs that you are enjoined to pile. Pray set it down and rest you. When this burns, it will weep for having wearied you. My father is hard at work. Pray now, rest yourself. He is safe for these 3 hours. He says, now please, I beg you, don't work so hard. I wish the lightning had burnt these logs up so that you did not have to carry anything. Pray set it down and rest you. Please put it down and rest a while. When this burns, when these things burn, these logs burn, I'm sure they will weep because they have made you so tired. Very romantic language. My father is hard at study. Pray you, rest yourself. He is safe for these 3 hours. So he says, my father is busy with his own study. You can afford to take a rest now. Ferdinand, oh most dear mistress, the sun will set before I discharge what I must strive to do. He says, oh my dear mistress, I won't be able to finish this work until sun sets at the earliest. If you will sit down, I'll bear your logs the while. Pray give me that. I'll carry it to the pile. She says, if you can sit down, I'll do this job for you. You can just rest a while I carry this to the pile. No, precious creature, I had rather crack my sinews, break my back, than you should such dishonor undergo while I sit lazy by. Says, no, I'm not going to allow you to do that. I can tear my sinews, crack my sinews tissues, or break my back than looking at you carrying this wood and I sit lazily by. It would become me as well as it does you, and I should do it with much more ease, for my goodwill is to it, and yours it is against. She says, I'd be as right, this would be the right job for me to do because I want to do it. On the other hand, you are not used to it and you do not want to do it, so I can do it much more easily than you. Poor worm. Now Prospero is looking at them from a distance and looking at or listening to her daughter talking. She says, poor worm. He says, poor worm, thou art infected. This visitation shows it. You poor weak thing, you are in love. I can see it very clearly. You look wearily. Now this conversation between the two continues. You look wearily. She says, you look tired. No, noble mistress, 'tis fresh morning with me when you are by at night. I do beseech you, chiefly that I might set it in my prayers. What is your name? She says. No, I'm not tired because the whole night I'm thinking of you, and when I wake up in the morning I'm fresh, and the morning is fresh. But he says, if I want to use your name in my prayers. What is your name? Now Miranda was forbidden not to give her name to anybody. And as soon as the question comes from Ferdinand, she says, Miranda. And she regrets immediately and she says, oh my father, I have broke your hest to say so. He says, oh my father, I have broken your hest order to say so. Admired. As soon as he listens to her name, he says, admired Miranda. The meaning of Miranda is admired. Indeed, the top of admiration, worth what's dearest to the world, full many a lady I have eyed with best regard, and many a time the harmony of their tongues hath into bondage brought my to delight ear. He says, Miranda, the very name means admired, he says. You are indeed admired. More than anything else in the world, I have looked at many ladies with pleasure and been seduced by their sweet words. For several virtues have I liked several women, never any with so fun soul, but some defect in her did quarrel with the noblest grace she owed and put it to the foil. He says, I have liked several women for their good qualities, and there was something wrong with each one that blotted her excellent qualities and cancelled them out. So at the end, I did not like anybody, although I was attracted to very beautiful women who looked in the beginning very perfect, but I noticed some kind of limitation in them, and I had to cancel my liking or cancel my love to them. In other words, I rejected them for some fault or the other. But with you, 'tis different. But you, O you so perfect and so peerless, are created for of every creature's best. He says, you are perfect without a rival in the world, peerless, without a rival, without a match in the world. You are created of the best qualities of the best women. There is no match for you. So that is what we have to look at today. Thank you.